Welcome to Peter Charapko's virtual studio art tour. I am Reverend Bridget Anthony, and I'm going to spotlight Peter so that you can see him and only him. There we go. Peter is going to do a little bit of talking.
About 15, 20 minutes probably.
And then he's going to be open to taking some questions. Let me just do a quick introduction, okay? Some of you know Peter very well. I know Peter from Fort Washington because of Catherine, but Peter is known for a lot of different things. He has been attending West End Collegiate Church since about 1982, so for quite a while. He renovated the Education Center at West End in 88. He did the Fort Washington Project in 1989. He's done Christian Science projects as well. What you may not know, though, are the artistic details about Peter Charapko. He studied oil painting under the abstract expressionist Esteban Vicente and wash drawing and life drawing with George E. Ortman. He also studied graphics and typographic studies with Aaron Marcus, a physicist and a later prominent digital theorist. At Princeton, his initial interest in economics led to urban planning and then graduate school in architecture. So he's had his own architecture firm since 1979. For Peter, on a personal note though, he writes that his work is impressionistic still lifes. He says that elements are rendered recognizable, but often in fields. While the images are flat on the surface, he says their looseness and their tentative brushwork forces a viewer to regard some things in the round. So even though he has this background in architecture, for him, the two are connected. One informs the other, okay? So there's a little bit more I could say. I may add in a little bit later, but for now, I'm gonna turn it over to you, Mr. Charapko, and then we'll take a look at the Peter Charapko's studio.
Well, welcome everyone. I am pleased for this opportunity to present during Arts Week for West End Collegiate Church. First and foremost, to Pastor Bridget Anthony, who has enthusiastically supported this Zoom and who brings a wealth of her own personal experience to this endeavor. Thank you. May I first acknowledge my own teachers, the late painter Esteban Vicente and architect Michael Graves. More than anyone else, Michael Graves strove for a unity of art and architecture. Other persons are Sandy Bartlett at Morton Library, Rhinecliff, Nan Jackson, Star Library, Rhinebeck, and Joanna Hess, head of the annual Regional Art Studio Views tours. Other supporters are Margaret Tobin, Ken Chase, Lex Kelso, my New Orleans friend and correspondent, Olivia Carahan, Christine Forte, Father Richard McKeon of Messiah Church in Rhinebeck, Margot Bennett, my webmaster, and Catherine Ferguson Charapko. This event explores the relation of art and architecture. In Dutch, the word is architectuur, but there is a German word never to be overlooked, Baukunst, the art of building, or the building of art. Now, this does not assume to talk about Asian or African words, but this particular one is the tradition within which most Westerners have been engaged. It's not the topic of tonight's discussion. Bear this in mind as I comment on paintings if you've seen the architectural website. This will be all the more meaningful. At the end of the painting section, I look forward to your questions, and I will answer them as fully as possible. And there is also an opportunity for individual conversation later. May I ask that you also, where necessary and where possible, refer to the paintings as named. They have names, but generally they can be referred to in that fashion. So I guess we could start the images now. Bridget, thank you. These are the selected ones, aren't they?
Yeah, there you go.
This is a favorite. It has a foreground and a background, but moreover, it has a remarkable thing about the clouds. But also, in one little area, there's a small building, which I felt was important to put in. You probably would never notice this, but there's barbed wire in front of that, in front of the grass there. Okay. Next. The Catskill sunset is inspired by something I see out the studio window. And it took a while to realize that the clouds could be dark at night. And then the horizontality at the bottom of the land. What? This is called Catskill Maybe Rainier Morning. This is based on things that I've seen, also things that Catherine and I have seen out in the West. It was going to be just a Catskill morning, but then I realized that conceivably could be the mountain itself. In other words, and also it's another landscape. What?
I was just saying, tell them what the medium is.
Oh, no. It's been brought to my attention that you should know that all of these are oil on canvas. This is one of the bigger ones. It's 2 by 3 feet. That's kind of my middle size. It is completely abstract. But it was done in the month of May. Okay, next. Oregon, this is a study in horizontals. That's the land, the water, and the sky from the bottom up. Okay. Now this farmscape is completely imaginary. It's on the side of a hill. It has a silo. It has 2 houses, and it has a building for the lands for the livestock. Can you spot the the tractor? And in the front, I'm particularly happy with the rough way that the rock outcropping is rendered. In other words, there's something for everyone. But the sky again has been handled, I think, particularly adeptly, because it has 3 or 4 skies at once. Now, some people might call that sort of a latter-day cubism if you're doing many, many different things at once. I would not call it that, but okay, next. I thought it would be interesting to do a similar thing as Oregon. This is just horizontality. You don't even need to know that it's the beach, but if you're really close to it, that's a wave coming in. This is a fantasy of a very large window. And it has around it, it has an imaginary metaphorical frame. You could see that around it, there is no frame that would ever be like that, but that's what it is. Oh, excuse me. Go back there one more time. There are people there in the front. And that's why it's called Yonder Tree. It's a huge tree. That tree is probably 100 feet high. Okay. Now, many of you will know the painter Joseph Albers. On a canvas, I started with a square and then expanded it out. This is the 15th cousin, second times removed of Albers, and I called it Purple Barn for obvious reasons. There is no Purple Barn, but we do see some interesting colors up here in the Rhinebeck area. And the focus of the building fades away into the landscape around it, if you'll grant that. So that's the way that is. Okay. This one I'm extremely happy with. It only has one tree, really, but the implication is that there are many trees to the left of where you're seeing. And then the little bit of water that is there gives an entirely different notion. So this is the takeoff of the word of the expression, you can't see the forest for the trees, but you can certainly see the forest for the trees in this case. Okay. Oh, he's doing Summer Hudson. This was commissioned a few years ago by somebody I know extremely well.
We can skip past this one, Sam, to the next.
Okay.
Mhm. Thank you.
This is a simpler painting. It's a horizontal horizon, etc. But the insertion of a building or two buildings at the lower right side gives scale to the overall notion. I mean, the house on the side could be either on the side of the water or on the side of just some land. I started out doing it as a something on the side of the water, but it seriously doesn't have to be that. This is what I mean when I'm referring to these double meanings or the double possibilities, the double views of something. Okay. This was chosen by Bridget as a kind of a signature for this presentation. It's extremely hard to paint a sunset when it's so bright. But if you saw this up close, you would be more convinced of it being a really bright sunset. Okay. This one is inspired by a movie that was about students playing lacrosse north of the Arctic Circle, and there's a village there. There's in that the green sort of thing in the back there is a school, a couple of houses, another house, and then a path to it. It's a very cold view, but the probably the more comforting thing is that there is a little bit of light coming through the sky under the lighter clouds, and way over on the right-hand side there at the horizon is the sun. Okay. All of the paintings that you've seen that are landscapes have been primarily horizontal. This one makes a virtue out of an asymmetrical, and therefore it's called hill. It's almost square, but it shows a forward in the background. Okay. Pardon me. This is literally what its title is named. It was done with one brush, which was a little challenge that I put on myself. And if you do it thick paint and thicker paint in other areas, and very little paint at all in others, it has a multitude of attractive horizontality. The theme is horizontality. I was speaking to an architect friend of mine who I've known forever, and I didn't even elicit it from him, but he said, yes, landscapes are primarily horizontal. So, okay, next.
Hold on, Peter, I know you wanted to look at some themes and then still lifes, but I'm wondering, and I know you wanted questions at the end, but people have been making comments about how beautiful things are. Would you mind if people had a little bit to say right now? Because I know the last one, Hill, that really was very moving to me. Like I thought that was really beautiful. And I just wanted to dwell on that for just a minute.
Sure, we could take questions from the floor.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I know you wanted it at the end, but having seen so much beautiful artwork, people have already started saying how beautiful it is. So if people want to join in or say something or have Sam go back to a particular painting, we can do that as well.
And folks are invited to unmute if they have any questions. And if you need help, just throw a question into the chat or raise a hand and we'll get you unmuted.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Susan.
Mhm. So,
Susan, there's
that is,
yeah.
Okay, I did it. What was I going to say?
so I think is that Jean or Susan who wants to say something?
I don't know.
What?
Can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear
Oh,
you.
no.
Can now.
Susan. Mhm.
I just want to say, Peter, your skies are just wonderful. They are so animated. They move. They are different in every of your paintings. It's like, I'm not fixated on it actually, and it's like I just want you to know that they are just magnificent.
Thank you very much. I think I mastered the sky. That's an affectation, but I think I learned that I was doing skies more than I was doing anything else, because that's where it all comes from.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's it sets a stage actually for. I mean, your feelings are there in the sky.
Mhm.
I can feel your emotion. Bravo.
Well, that's a nice, very, very wonderful thing.
Peter,
Um,
are these for sale? I'm assuming that they're for sale,
yes,
right?
yeah, we have to talk about, I can't tell you now, but
Yes.
I would get individual phone calls,
Okay.
emails, what have you.
I think I want Hill, so I will talk to you very, very soon. That's the one that I want. So I'm putting my dibs in.
Well, I don't want to upset you, but that has been spoken for
Oh,
very strongly by another member of the cloth whom you haven't met.
huh. It's not someone that I know? Okay,
Well,
talk about it.
somebody up here in Rhinebeck.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
No, but look, here's the thing that you need to know.
Okay.
You can give me 7 words and a couple of ideas, and that can suffice as a commission. Now, that is a way that it has been done.
Okay.
Hey, Peter,
Mhm.
Yes.
Peter, I had no idea you had, this is sort of a second career or a tangent to your other career, right? You've been doing this for a few years or a long
I've
time?
been doing it since I was 19, actually, before I was ever in architecture.
Wow.
Oh, I love the Albert's reference with the little purple in the middle. Is that something with Joseph Albert's? Because I've always loved that artist, and it's way
Well, I
back.
couldn't, Albers was highly precise. I mean,
Uh-huh.
he,
Well, I know his work.
I, I've decided never to even try to be that precise. That's a thing called verisimilitude, which is a very long word. But what I want to say, more than anything, I want all of these paintings, and I think every one of them has a kind of a positive look about it, a repose. A lot of people are painting that I've met highly high conflict in what they're doing.
Mhm.
And that's good. That's good. But I guess I don't hold a grudge long enough to do a painting about that sort of thing.
But
Although, if you look up close at this purple barn, it's violent at certain parts.
well, the
You know,
blackness in the middle, but the yellow and the purple, and then that green horizontal with the grass. I don't know. It has some of my favorite colors in it. I think that's why I was so attracted to it. But also the artist, and I do see something of that artist in this picture. But of course, it's so different. It's your idea based on the square or something. I don't know. There's
Yes.
something that
yes,
relates.
I think I really agree with you.
Anyway, we should talk about this one because this is a good one for me for many reasons, because of the art that I studied way back in college too. My Art 101 class, where I got an A and was encouraged to major in art. Of course, my mother said she wasn't going to pay for me to go to college to major in art. So you know what? Aunt Peg, all the other people in my family are artists.
Okay.
Well,
Jean,
so
thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
thank you. This
Thank
is
you.
wonderful. I love this picture.
Thank you. Is there a particular painting that somebody else wants to see again before we move on to the next group?
Can you show May again?
Where's May?
Mhm.
Yonder tree. Oh, that's good.
There we go. Mhm.
Yeah, the orange and red and whatever you want to call it goes off the page. In other words, it's never framed by the canvas itself. And then this thing underneath at the bottom is kind of a flourish that comes along with it. It's a relatively big painting. It's not that huge, but if you put it next to another 36 by 24 inch painting, it looks bigger. It is just amazing. The stature of some paintings are bigger than the stature of others.
And Peter, I noticed that sometimes the corners of your painting, like you don't extend all the way to the corners sometimes. I see your signature there in the corner. Is that something that you're doing deliberately, where you sort of leave certain areas of the canvas unfinished?
Yes.
Oh, can you say a little bit more about that? About like why you're doing that, or?
Well, I'll tell you that a 27-year-old young man that I know thought it was a good idea. I didn't do it because of him, but he took it in immediately as a thing to do. But I don't think we need to fill up every square inch of a canvas for it to be finished. Because I think that the viewer is engaged a little bit more if that happens.
I feel like there's a sermon in there for me somewhere. Okay.
Well, Bridget,
I'll give you
I
credit.
will help you finish your sermon, but not on Saturday night.
Okay. Carmita says that the colors are are capturing her. I agree, Carmita. So Sam, if you can go back to the homepage of his website and let's move on to the themes section. Okay, and we're going to take a look at, this is May, we've seen that. Let's go to Sun and Earth, the next one. There we go.
Well, the sun is in the middle, the earth, the sun is, you know, it's the sun, it's natural. But on the lower right-hand corner are, shall we say, human forms, a line, a source, whatever it is. But yet there's a diagonal. A diagonal is neither up nor down. So I was particularly happy when I achieved the flesh colors on these, some of, you know, the lighter flesh colors. And then the horizontal line there, which is a huge punctuation for the overall composition. If you could understand punctuation as applied to visuals, that's what I would call it. I mean, that's a little abstract, but that's what I would call it. Okay.
The next is presenting to the patron.
Well, in case you don't know, that's one of the Medicis there. The guy presenting to the woman is a Medici woman, and that's what was it that we? But it's Borromini. It doesn't have to be Borromini. Some people thought it was Napoleon, but but there's always a reference beyond. In the middle at the top, is that a painting or is that a window? It's a painting. It's a window because this is in a climate that doesn't need a window, so to speak, if it's in Florence. Now, I just painted the rest of the painting in very rationally, like as if that was on the floor, as if that was a gridded floor out of wood. But the wainscot is big. The wainscot comes up to the painter's head. It's what I would call fun. Okay, the next one. Two things from the outside in. It has a frame around it. It has an oculus that goes beyond. And this is Liberty. Some people have argued that it's not even a female form. It is a female form. But what it is not necessarily looking this way or that way. It's looking both ways, depending upon what's in your mind. Now, this has a wainscot that starts and goes off to the right of the painting. And the Liberty is leaning on a table next to a chair. And the table has some flowers on it, some fruit.
Can you tell us what a wainscoting is? I've heard the word. I'm not exactly sure what that is.
It's
Application of that.
an application of wood, generally wood against the wall, often paneled. And I said, nobody would end a wainscot like this. But in the library up here in Rhine Cliff, which is the hamlet within Rhinebeck, they have a wainscot that ends in the middle of the first course. It's hilarious. And so there it is. So
Thank you. Thank you.
and then at the top here, at the top of that painting, is a flourish that is not visual. There is no wall anywhere, no partition, no tent, anything that's like that. But it follows through on the right-hand side because I thought that was the way to end this drawing. It has a border on the left and a border on the right. It's one of my early favorites of the recent period of the last 3 years. This one,
Raspberry.
silly shapes on a serious field. Now, to Jean Lane's point about drawing very accurately, painting very accurately, I couldn't do it. But I ended up doing these forms that were essentially either hyperbolic or circular or some kind of geometric form. And they're on a serious field. The serious field is white. And up here on the upper right-hand side are a couple of marks that give the intimation of an Asian mark.
This seems very different from your other work. The shapes are more precise. They're more, there's a precision to the paint.
Well,
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Bridget, we don't have hamburgers every night.
Primary colors, yeah.
But yes, it first of all, everyone is unique. Everyone is whatever. If somebody wanted another one of those, but not that didn't look like that, I could do it. In other words, based it upon shapes, based it upon this, based it upon that. But again, the yellow and the green on the right-hand side, the cadmium yellow, cadmium green, it sort of extends beyond the canvas itself. Okay.
That's your colors, though. Those are your color palettes, though, that you love, right? You like these several colors and the white, too. But this one you finished. This one's totally finished, right? No?
Did you want to say a little bit more about your color?
No, it is finished, Jean. I there's almost nothing I'm going to disagree with you about. But I'll tell you what was hard on this one. It was hard getting that much white without having a mark. So there is a mark on the left there that makes a space that's about 4 inches wide, and a space on the right that's about 4.5 inches.
Oh, whoops.
This is a portrait from the back of a young woman looking across the river to a mountain. It's simply called Beyond. And the notion is that that person is thinking about something beyond. But I will tell you that if you were to, don't do this, but if you were to take that space right there in front, that is another thing that in and of itself could be a composition. That green, that light green.
I'm sorry, this is Carmita. I have to say, this might be one that I have to get in and talk to you about. This one was a wow the minute it came up. So,
Well, remember the name.
I will.
We'll have to have a separate session. Will we do sort of an online auction, or we'll see. We'll figure.
Oh no, Bridget.
No?
Peter,
people want your work.
I know.
But, but you don't want to sell it? Come on.
Yes.
No, I do. I do.
Okay.
But I don't think that this particular point in time is an auction.
That's true. You're right. I'm being facetious. We'll talk about stuff later.
Okay, Daniela, Raspberry Field is spoken for.
Go back.
Go back to Raspberry Field.
It's back to.
There it is.
Raspberry Squares. Wow.
The thing about this is it was done in a grid. There's a gridded space, and there's a line down the right-hand side and a light at the bottom. And the anchor, if you will, is at the bottom. It's a square.
You did that one as a commission with the person.
That was done as a commission with the person standing in front of me. Okay, there are two here that are really a pair. There's Green Start, which you read from the right going left, and it has depth. Now let's go to Red Base. Now this is a little bit political, but it doesn't have to be. There's less depth in Red Base than there is in Green Start. And it's a small painting. Two of those on somebody's wall would be a fabulous thing to do.
They're both only 12 by 12.
What?
They're both only 12 by 12.
And they're both only 12 by 12. This was an investigation in using basically two colors, but of course, as we know, there's more than two colors there. But that is white on the left. That's not unfinished canvas. That's white on the left. And then down the middle is another white, and it spreads the way that you would spread anything, any product. But it was a sort of investigation of purple. It's a bigger painting than its 20 inches by 16 would imply. It just seems,
Yeah.
There's another one like that we're going to get to. That is there's another investigation of darkness and light. Okay.
That's magnificent, Peter.
This is the one here that is called Emerging Light. I've been corresponding with an art historian that I knew from college. She is in Seattle, and she keeps talking about these paintings I'm doing as a kind of a tentative. And there's any one point of it going on and on and on. So,
so Sam says that this is the one for him, but this is my question. Why this is a completely different color palette for you? It's almost a grayscale. Can you talk about what moved you to use these colors right now for this picture?
I just tried to use that color. It's not meant to be, quote, dark or whatever. To me, there's lots of light in this painting, and it's emerging right down the middle. And if you want to talk about an architectural notion, excuse me, it's right down the middle. There's a line of white.
It looks like there's a tree at the very center at the bottom as well. There's so much that you can see in this. It's really beautiful.
Well, that's why it's not perfect. But Sam, it's, keep it in mind if that's the one that you, did I see your
Yeah.
comment?
Yeah, I'm just so taken by the relationship between the brighter and darker in this, and the way you've woven in
listen,
the color.
this is just a suggestion, but this gets a gold frame or a silver frame.
We'll talk.
If or something.
Yeah. All right, and I believe this last one from this section was previous. Yep, here we are.
Well, in back of these two people is a painting that is not a window. And that is the most perfect book I've ever painted that's in front of them. The title of this was going to be White Cuff or this or that, but it turned out to be two people. The one on the right, probably a woman, but the one on the left, certainly a man. And they're in front of a wall, and then in back of them was what started out as a column, but it ended up as a blue distance. It has a very lot of thick painting on it. Sometimes called impasto, as in pasta, same word. But I like it. It's and it was done you see it was done in the parts of 2 years, parts of 2 years ago and last year. Okay.
I believe that's the end of this section.
So now we're
Okay, I
going
think it's now still lifes.
to lives. Yes.
Yep, let me get there.
Actually, still life.
Sorry, still life. And we haven't even got to your drawings yet.
This is being hanging at a very popular restaurant in Rhinebeck. It is not, they don't own it. And they won't give us enough food for me to give it to them. So it's hanging there. There are two of these paintings I did. There's Robust and the Robust 2. And there's no question when I'm painting, there's bottles and this and that, they're all about food. The other one is that way too. The other one that has horseradish, now this has horseradish, is something you feel. But one of those, the bottle on the right, I think is, I forget what it's called.
Pellegrino.
Pellegrino. These were stones and pieces of wood that were around the house. No mystery there. And well, I don't really think I need to say much more about it, except that to me, it has a lot of color that I really enjoy. This doesn't have this doesn't have a sky, but it has a top and a bottom. The sky here, the equivalent of the sky is that greenish thing at the top, the olive. And I think that comes out of my architectural notion of composition. Although composition is certainly something that could be in anything. But it's certainly what I depend upon when I'm doing or starting a painting. I will often do a few lines in pencil, even in charcoal on a canvas.
And then paint over that?
What?
You'll start a painting with charcoal and then oil paint over that?
Yeah, you just have to be brave. I mean, if you do it the wrong way, it's not the right way to go. But you can do it. And I would say that most of these paintings have at least 3 to 4 applications to them. Although that one that you saw of emerging light, that was a single application. And that one that was called before one brush, that was a single application. It depends on sort of the motion of the wrist. That when you want to come up here, I'll be able to give you art lessons. I could do that too. But for the time being, I'm going to tell you about what I did on this particular painting. And I thought that Around the House was a pretty apt title. I just like, it's like,
This is really beautiful.
And it's also framed already.
So Peter, I'm aware that we're almost up with the hour, so I want to make sure that
I could go however you want.
I think that this is a lot to take in, and I know that you've been talking a lot, so I don't want to tire you.
No, don't worry about me. I'll be here tomorrow. What?
Why don't you move through the rest of them?
Let's go through the rest of them quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, this one, I decided that I called it a portrait because it has the kind of the portrait that is in the Gilbert Stuart paintings of Washington. And the bottle goes off the page. In other words, this thing. This is already sold to somebody.
Okay.
This one is a favorite of mine. The objects are the objects as you would see them, but in the background is a stone wall. Because I have a studio in our basement, and I have a studio in the structure outside that you saw. So essentially 2 studios. Okay. This is a study in how little you have to paint to give the image of what it is. It's not even titled, but there's no question that it's 3 particular bottles. It's a very small painting. It's 9 by 12. The creamer is an example of very, very few lines to get the impression of what it is. It's one of my, if you don't mind if I say it again, one of my favorite particular images. Okay. This is partly an attempt to render something quite visually. The pear is accurate. The grapes are accurate. The bread is accurate. The Roquefort is a little bit less so. The window is at night. So it's rendered with ice on it and so on and so forth. Go ahead.
I think that's the end of the landscapes, themes, and still lifes that we had. I would love to show the slideshow that we had at the beginning, because we see pictures of your studio. I'd like to show people that. Would you mind if we take a look at that again?
Sure.
Yeah, how do I get there?
Let me see if it will work on my end.
All right, and I'm here for a backup in case the gremlins strike again.
Here we go. Do you see a PowerPoint starting?
We do indeed.
Okay.
You're going to show the music, Bridget?
We're not going to do the music, but I'm just I want to pause. Trying to figure out how I can pause the slides, but just so you can see, they'll just have to fly by. I can't figure out how to pause them right now. But you can see these lovely pictures of where Peter's actually painting. These are pictures of his studio. You can see a lot of the pictures. Hold on one second. Why can't I pause this? There we go. You can see his studio.
Beautiful.
These are lovely pictures of your studio. It looks like a wonderful place to paint. There's the artist at work. And this looks like you leaving that little corner, or this is you're doing your signature. You can see that again. Oh, sorry, hold on. Hold on one second. Technology, my goodness, hold on. Goodness gracious. Hold on. Here we go. One more time. Okay. I want us to pause here and just take a look at the studio. You can see some of the pictures that we actually talked about. can't remember the titles, but we see, what is this one called here that's on the easel there, Peter?
That is a commissioned drawing of a friend, friends of mine, her dog Fletcher.
Okay. It's beautiful.
That was a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
What I was given some photographs, and between the two of us, I chose which one to do,
Mhm.
and then we did it.
You can see the views of the tours.
And we see all the different views. We see the different colors that you have access to, right? We see, look at that beautiful red sunset. So we see.
Oh, yeah, somebody is asking, are all the paintings done in oil? The answer is yes. Now, I want to repeat
Mhm.
that they're done sometimes quickly and sometimes many layers after it's dried. That's the limitation of oil,
Mhm.
as opposed to acrylic.
Again, the artist in his lair. This is the one I wanted to take a look at. Look at all the different tubes of paint. So when you talked about using one brush,
Some of those brushes are 45 years old.
wow. So when you talked about using one brush, you can see that probably was pretty hard for you because you're used
No,
to more than one.
the on the right-hand side, the one brush was the one, right, the wide one.
Mhm.
Can you see it?
Yes.
It's the inch and a half wide brush.
Susan says your studio is too clean.
Oh,
Catherine may have something to say about that.
no. Let me tell you, the meaning of life is, well, no, it's partially the meaning of life. It's getting a cup of coffee and having it delivered to me and
In your studio?
in the studio. And guess what? I was given a cup that's metal. So if you drop it, all you do is spill the coffee. You don't break any glass or any pottery or anything.
Well, and tell them that the floor is stone, so.
By the way, the floor is stone over top of
We can see it a little bit.
over top of
Right here.
sand and gravel.
Mhm.
So it's never really that cold on the floor.
Okay. Well, I think we're gonna call it. Let's put it. Let's.
Now, what I would like, everybody should have my email and my phone number. And Bridget, you have my email and my phone number, right?
And I'm going to ask everybody, please feel free to unmute yourselves for any last comments. Now we'll have some questions if you have anything you want to say.
Wow.
I want to thank everybody for being here. It's quite a crowd. I'm very pleased by that. It's Peter Charapko Studios. I think that's what it's called, right? So you can go online and you can see these pictures yourself.
No, it's a Charapko Studio.
Charapko Studio.
One word, and that'll come up. But you should have my phone number if you want to just have a phone call.
I'll put that in the chat.
Okay.
Where is the chat?
It should.
This should not be our problem.
Feel free. You can just contact me if you want to get in touch with Peter about any of the art that you saw, or the number is in the chat window.
Where is that?
Yeah.
It's 91.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. Okay.
Can I say something? Susan here. It's like, this was wonderful. And you know, as much as I regretted you and Catherine leaving New York City, boy, were you prolific in 2020 and with really beautiful, beautiful work. And bravo to you, Peter. Love you. Thank you so much. This was fantastic.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Does anybody else want to say anything?
And thank you, Bridget. And thank you, Sam, and thank you, Will.
Yes, this was our pleasure. This was this was a wonderful walk through your work. Thank you for letting us share your work and talk about your process. I know as an artist, it could be very daunting to share your work in this way. You're sort of leaving yourself open. You're opening your heart. You're sharing your babies with us. I certainly appreciate it. This was wonderful.
Well, in the not terribly distant future, you will all be able to come up, get a personal tour. If you were here now with a mask, I could do that. There are so many windows in the studio, so much ventilation, as you know. I mean, it's a lot of ventilation.
Thank you.
Just bring something to eat, and we'll, you have
Wine
it
and
on
cheese.
wine and cheese. Anybody who brings up food, I don't think it's a joke.
Okay. I take food very
Oh,
seriously.
I wanted to show, there's one thing I didn't show you.
Ah,
This is a painting that is underway,
In progress.
and it's a still life. You see the elements are there, but there's nothing distinct yet.
Mhm.
beautiful. Beautiful.
And it's a still life of something in the studio. This is the black wall in the studio. This is the wood wall. This is a table. These are containers. And there's a very tall bottle, probably of the
Water.
Saratoga water.
Okay. Peter, what was the name of the yellow and blue one that had a still life from their kitchen? It had a bar across. It had a few kitchen things, and it was yellow and blue. What was that name? Was that a small piece?
Tell her to call you. Then we'll go through.
You better call me on that one, Jean, because
Okay.
it's
It
a
may be
little,
robust.
It was a small picture toward the end, I think.
I think it was robust.
I don't know. I
It could have
didn't.
been.
no, robust is that small.
Yeah, it may have also been the creamer.
Oh, the creamer and the wooden spoon.
Yes, the wooden spoon, maybe. Well, I don't know.
Yeah. And the napkin. That's a napkin.
I think that one was called Around the House.
My son-in-law is making wooden spoons because he got into a carpentry class and he started with spoons.
Thank you so much, Jean. So what we're going to do is we're going to say thank you, Peter. Thank you so much. Bravo. Thank you for letting us into your studio. And we're going to call it a night. Thank you, everyone, for being here. This has been recorded, and it will be on the website alongside all of the plays that are being offered this week as well. So you can go back in and cycle through the pictures if you want to on your own as well. Okay. Any last words, Peter?
I want to say bye and keep looking. There's always something to paint. There's always something to see. And you may surprise yourself.
Thank you, Peter. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Catherine.
Good
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone.
Thanks so much, Peter. Thank you.
Take
Bridget.
care.